Hello, welcome to our Memory Cafe. This is dedicated to balance and fitness. We have our instructor here, Doug Smith. He's worked with the Malley Senior Center and Inglewood Rec Center as a personal trainer since May of 2006. In 2007, he modeled a class off of the West German program for people recovering from hip and knee replacements called The Replacements, which he led for over 4 years, and we're very thankful to have him here with us today. This program evolved into the Total Body Fitness class, which since the COVID-19 pandemic is offered online using Zoom. He's certified by the Arthritis Foundation program in September of 2007, Silver Sneakers Fitness program in October of 2007, and the N Balance program in June 2008. He's also worked as a group fitness instructor offering classes in back fitness, stretching 101, and running for enjoyment. So we're going to let Doug take it away, okay?
Thank you very much, Michelle. I appreciate that, the introduction there. Welcome, everybody. Without too much further ado, let me just mention that this is more of an introduction to resistance training or a fitness class with the balance component added to it. Everything we'll be doing today will just be body weight focused. We won't be using any hand weights or resistance tubes or any special surfaces, pads or pillows or discs to stand on to challenge ourselves further. Those all come with additional progressions. So at any rate, let's just start with a warm-up here. And I've got a chair here, I think that's probably a good idea for us to, just do everything around the chair so that if at any time you feel like you're getting a little unstable, you can always drop your hand down to the back of the chair. Many times I'll be describing things for us to do, and I'll just say, let your hand hover if you can. If not, just let it rest lightly on the chair. Okay, so to get started, let's just start, marching in place. I like to lift those knees higher than you normally lift. It does a couple of things. One, you're working your hip flexors. Two, you're balancing on one leg longer than you normally are during a normal walking gait. And you're obviously challenging your core. So those are all good things. So let's add something to this. Instead of just continuing to march in place like this, we'll add a forward component and a backward. And then when we go side to side, keep the feet hip distance apart so that you've got a nice wide base of support. And it also challenges, the core a little bit more. And let's add opening and closing the hands. We'll just kind of loosen up those fingers. This is a holdover from my arthritis class. And let's go ahead and slowly rotate the wrists while we keep marching in place. So the marching in place is a great warm-up. And reverse, rotate the other direction. So it gets the blood pumping. It starts warming up all of those muscles. And we'll add some shoulder and arm component to it very shortly. Okay, and let's bring the elbows into the side. The palms are up. And internally, externally rotate the forearms and palms. The palms are face up in a supinated position. And each time you rotate out, just pause for a second just to kind of stretch those shoulders. Okay, and then let's do some arm circles. Gentle arm circles, coming forward and reverse. Okay, and let's drop the arms to the side. Let's bring the arms and the shoulders forward in front and then take them around behind the back. And so we're still marching in place, still lifting those knees. And the goal here is to maintain that marching stance and to get as much range of motion out of our shoulders as we do this. Okay, how about backward shoulder rolls? Let's add that to the mix. Lift those shoulders up, back down and around. Okay, and then from the side, let's bring the arms up overhead lower slowly, and back up again. If you have no shoulder issues, you can alternate tapping your palms with the back of your hands each time you lift. Always try to lower a little bit slower than you lift. And let's bring the arms up in front, take them down behind the back, turning them to the outside. Okay, let's go ahead and place our right hand on the back of the chair, turn to the left, and let's swing that right leg front to back. When we swing it to the front, let's try and keep it as straight as you can, and you can bend it if you like when you swing it to the rear. Okay, and then let's switch to the other side. We'll do about 6 to 8 of these each way. Okay, facing forward, just rest your hands lightly on the back of the chair, raise the right leg and go side to side. That's 6, 7, and 8. Okay, let's switch sides, switch legs. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, for this next one here, I'm just going to turn the chair to the side and then focus the camera on my feet because we're going to just kind of work on some ankle work here. So we'll start with the feet hip distance apart. I'm resting my hands on the back of the chair, and we're just going to lift the heels coming up on the ball of each foot. Pause for a moment and slowly lower. Let's do that 4 times. It's 2, 3, 4. And now let's put the heels together, turn the feet out. So we've got like a duck here, kind of a duck walk. And again, we're going to come up on the balls of our feet, not the toes, just the ball of your foot, and then pause for a moment and come slowly down. That's 2, 3, and 4. Okay, let's bring the toes together and turn the heels out. Same thing. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, good. So that's a little bit of ankle mobility work there. Works the ankle and the lower leg, the calf, all of the muscles, the musculature in your calves. Okay, next we're going to kind of work on the hip flexors, abductors on the side of the hip and leg, and the hip extensors. You know, our glute muscles, our hamstrings. So we'll start with just the going to bringing in a leg up front, pause for a moment, and slowly lower. So we'll do 8 of these. 2, 3. We're just resting our hand lightly here on the chair. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. And I'm just going to turn the chair to the side so that you can see, and maybe back up a little bit here. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, this is all with the right leg so far. And then we'll go to the side. 1. Try to keep those toes pointed straight ahead. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we're going to lift the leg now back at a 45. 1. So we're lifting it to the side and back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. And let's go ahead and move to the other side of the chair again, and we'll start again with the hip flexion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. And to the rear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, abduction to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And at a 45, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Excellent. Okay, let me move my chair out of the way now. We'll do a little spine mobility work next, and that also has a little bit of a core component to it. And again, that comes from, you can do this with your feet parallel, hip distance apart, or you can bring your feet together, which will challenge your core and your balance because you've got a narrower base of support. Okay, as we side bend from side to side, we want to just shift our weight from one leg to the next when we're doing that. Also, just a note of caution is if you have osteopenia or osteoporosis or any concerns about your bone density, you want to kind of minimize your range of motion. Maybe don't go move quite to the extent that you see me moving. Okay, we'll start with our arms at our sides, standing nice and tall, feet are together. On an inhale or exhale, let's side bend to the right, pause, lift, and side bend to the left. And back to the right, left for 2. We'll do 8 each way. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, let's spread the feet now just a little bit wider apart, maybe hip distance apart. Again, we want to stay on our midfoot so that we can pivot the foot opposite of the direction we're rotating. And so we'll start with our arms just slightly at our sides. So we'll shift our weight to the right leg, turn to the right, pivoting on the left foot, pause, reverse, and let's go to the other way, to the left side, pivoting on the right foot. And back to the right, left for 2. We'll do 8 each way. So you're shifting your weight, pivoting. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And of course, you can have your chair close by when you're doing this so that, you could even have it in front of you so that if you needed to quickly grab it, you could do that. Okay, excellent. So now we'll move to a little bit of shoulder work and back work. So for that, we want to take feet parallel, hip distance apart. Knees are slightly bent, keeping the back as straight as we can. Let's hinge from the hips, lowering the upper body so that it's almost parallel, not quite parallel to the floor. Extend the arms under the shoulders. The palms are facing each other. This is called ITA, and it's all shoulder work, shoulder and upper back work. So on an inhale or an exhale, lift the arms up next to the head for I. Hold for a moment, slowly lower. Take them to the side for T, slowly lower. Take them back by the hips, slowly lower. I for 2, T, A, and we'll do a total of 8. 3, T, A, 4, T, A, 5, T, A, 6, T, A, 7, T, A. Okay, good. Excellent. Come back up to a standing position. So the progression for that, of course, would be to be holding some dumbbells or soup cans in our hands while we're doing that. Okay. Next, we'll work on some leg work as well as bicep work. So for this, you could be holding dumbbells. In our case, we're just going to gently clench the fist, hold them at our side. Arms slightly bent to engage those biceps. Knees slightly bent. Again, feet parallel, hip distance apart. Keep the back as tall as you can. On an inhale or an exhale, bend the legs and lower. And as we lift up, curl the wrists to our shoulders and lift the heels. Okay, slowly lower. We'll do a total of 8. That's 2. And again, progressions, you could do progress to 20 or more. This is 3. Knees stay over the tops of our feet. Don't let them collapse in or out. 4 as you lift and lower. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, spreading the feet a little further apart now for this next one. I call these mini squats. So again, the feet are wider than hip distance apart. The feet are turned out maybe 20, 30 degrees. Knees are slightly bent. They stay over the tops of the feet. Back, we want to keep that as upright and straight as we can. Think of tucking your tailbone to keep the hips neutral and the upper body as tall as you can. And again, the hands can be just held behind your back like this. You could be holding some dumbbells to make it a little more challenging. On an inhale or exhale, bend the legs and lower. Again, don't lean forward if you can help it. Pause to stretch and then lift back up without locking out the knees. So we'll do a total of 8. This is 2. Try to lower slower than you lift. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Keeping that back upright and straight really takes a lot of work. You really end up exercising all of those muscles up and back, because the natural tendency when you bend and lower is to lean forward. And so by keeping that back upright, you're activating all of that musculature that runs up and down your spine. Okay, the next one is for the, again, the upper back, arms and shoulders. So again, we'll come back to our feet hip distance apart and parallel, knees slightly bent, hinging from the hips with a flat or straight back. Extend the arms under. And again, we could be holding some dumbbells here, but we'll just have a gently closed fist. On an inhale or exhale, lift our fists up to our chest, and then keeping the arms close to the body, extend and straighten the arms, holding for a moment to activate those triceps on the back of the upper arm. Slowly bend and lower. Let's do that 8 times. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, and again, you can always have your chair close by to grab on if you need to. Okay, this next one is referred to as a deadlift, and I'm not quite sure why they call it that, but that's what they call it, so we'll just go with the flow. So again, we're standing with our feet hip distance apart, parallel. Bring the arms around in front, and again, we could be holding dumbbells here. Knees are slightly bent, and again, with a flat back hinging from the hips. On an inhale or exhale, let's lower the upper body, come down as far as you're comfortable. Pause to just get a little bit of a stretch there, then lift all the way back up. Rotate slightly to the right. Again, slowly lower, stretch, lift, back to center, slowly lower, stretch, lift, to the left, lower, stretch, lift. Okay, one more time each way. Lower, stretch, lift, to the right, center, and we'll finish on the left. Okay, excellent. Very nice. Okay, the next one we're going to do is what I call lift and pour. And so for that one there, we can keep our feet parallel hip distance. We can bring them together, or we could even go one step further and do half the reps standing on one leg and half standing on the other leg. So let's just, at this point, let's just keep them together. But know that those other options are available to you. So we're just going to, we could be holding dumbbells, but we're just going to gently clench our fists, holding our arms at our side, slightly bent. On an inhale or exhale, forearms come up 90 degrees. Now, without bending the wrist, raise the elbows to pour. and then slowly come back down. And we'll do that 8 times. This is 2, 3, and again, you could be doing this balancing. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, good. All right, the next one I call a reverse wood chopping, or you could almost call it snow shoveling, except we haven't had that much snow. So let's just call it reverse wood chopping. So again, the feet are parallel hip distance apart. Knees are slightly bent. You want to be on your midfoot so that those feet can pivot as we rotate from side to side. The hands can come together in front. Again, they could be holding a dumbbell by the ends, but we're just going to hold our hands together. Again, keeping the back as upright and straight as we can, and also keeping the upper body and the hips and the hands all in the same relative position. So we're not rotating at the waist or anything like that. We're pivoting on our feet and keeping everything in line. And that's going to do a lot, especially keeping the arms straight, to challenge our core. And of course, the lifting, bending the legs, the lifting and the lowering will be challenging our shoulders and all of the muscles in our legs and hips. So on an inhale or an exhale, let's lower and rotate to the right and lift overhead to the left. That's 1. We'll do 4 on each side, 2, or 8 on each side rather, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, lower and rotate to the left, lifting high to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And of course, if you wanted to modify this and maybe start a little bit smaller, you could just kind of do a half. Something like this, rather than maybe going through the full range of motion that I did. Okay, good, excellent. So now what I'd like to do is let's bring our chair back in here. And I want to go to just spend a little bit more time working on our hips. You know, our hips and our the leg strength is so important for overall fitness and balance that you know, you can't spend too much time working on that. So initially, we're going to start out on the right side of our chair. Left hand is sitting, is just resting on the chair like this, resting lightly so that most of our weight are basically on our legs. And what we're going to do is go ahead and lift that right leg up, bending the knee as high as you can. Okay, and then just let that hand hover over the back of the chair. And you can balance there. You can balance there for anywhere from 2, 3, 4 seconds up to 10 seconds. And then come back down, okay? The next move we're going to do is lifting the legs straight back. So we lifted that right leg straight back, and again, then just gently lift the hand off, and we're just going to try and balance there for the same length of time, or longer or shorter, depending upon how good our balance is. When we're done, just drop the hand back down and the foot comes back down. Okay, next, we're going to just go ahead and lift that leg to the side. And again, it can be a little lift, right? Like just like this, or you can kind of exaggerate it. And then again, lift that hand off. And this hand here can be on your hip. It can be resting on the side of your thigh, above your knee. And when you're done, just come back down, okay? And then one more on this side. We're going to lift it back at a 45. And again, the 45 is important because it really focuses on the glute med, the gluteus medius muscle in our backside here. And that's one of the primary hip stabilizers. And so after we've balanced on that for a moment, drop the hand back down and come back down. So let's shift to the other side and we'll repeat it for the left side. So go ahead and lift that knee up nice and high. Let the hand hover and see if you can balance. Okay, and then come back down. And then let's take it back. And again, balance. Okay, and to the side, and balance. And again, that can be just a little lift off to the side. It doesn't have to be exaggerated. Okay, and then also to 45. So lift the leg first and then raise the hand to balance. Okay, good. Okay, another little series that I like to take everybody through is just standing with head motion. And you'd be surprised what head motion does to our balance, relative, if you ever watch people, a lot of times if they've got poor balance and they're walking side by side, when one person turns to talk and turns their head, they'll generally stop walking if they don't have good balance. To be walking and turning your head from side to side is challenging. Okay, so we're going to kind of come into that slowly. We're going to basically start with our feet hip distance apart. Take a step forward with the right foot. So feet are parallel. They're about hip distance apart. The front knee is slightly bent, standing nice and tall. And we're just going to turn our head from side to side. Now, again, the chair's there if you want the reassurance of just letting that hand hover as you turn your head from side to side. If you're feeling any motion in your legs at all, then you've got the right foot position. If you don't, if they feel pretty solid, if you feel pretty steady, then go ahead and bring that one foot in a little bit closer to being in line. The cat's meow is to be able to stand one foot in front of the other, the front leg slightly bent, and to basically turn your head from side to side and be able to maintain your balance. And when you do that, if you try that, you'll see just what I mean, because those legs are working big time to maintain your balance because you've got a very narrow base of support with one foot in front of the other. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and switch it up, put the other foot in front. And just don't assume that because what worked for one side is going to work as well for the other. You may find that you need a wider stance on one side than the other side. So just start by coming forward hip distance apart and then turning your head saying, okay, yeah, legs feel pretty good, feel pretty solid. Then bring it in a little bit closer and repeat. And keep doing that a little bit at a time until you find a spot where when you turn your head from side to side, you can feel those legs working. When I say working, they may be twitching a little bit, they may be, quivering, but you're still able to maintain your balance, but they're working. Okay, excellent. So then we've got one more thing I want to introduce you to, and this is a great lower body strengthening move. It's something we do all the time, and we just never think about it. Just doing a chair stand. But we're going to do repetitive. And you can be doing these lifting dumbbells as well as, holding your hands on your shoulders. Or if you need to, you can also push off from your chair or push off from above your knees. Wherever you are on the fitness journey, that's where you want to start and, progress from there. I'll start with my hands on my shoulders. And the idea here is the feet are parallel, hip distance apart. I'm sitting forward on the chair. I'm going to hinge forward with my upper body and engage my legs and stand up nice and tall. Now, here's the crux. The crux is we don't want to plop. When we sit back down, we want to sit down slowly and touch softly, okay? And so we kind of come up. We'll do 8 of these today, but again, you can progress up to 20 or more. This is 3 to really work on strengthening these hips, quads, muscles in front, and your core. 4, 5. And again, the knees stay over the tops of the feet. They don't collapse in or out as you lift and lower. And I think we got one more here. Awesome. Okay, good. Very nice. Okay, so one of the other things I wanted to kind of introduce you to is the idea of taking some time after your workout for a cool down. And cool down, from my vantage point, consists of various types of stretches. And so one of the stretches that I like to start with is called child's pose. It's a yoga pose, but we're going to do a sitting version of that. You know, you can do it kneeling on the floor, but we can also do it sitting in the chair. So again, I'm sitting forward in the chair. I've got the my knees spread apart, and now I'm just going to hinge and come forward with my upper body. Now at some point, I'm going to get an inner thigh stretch here, and I'm also stretching my low back. And so I can adjust the distance between my knees to control this stretch. So keep it mild. Don't get carried away and feel that if you need to have a stretch that's intense. Stretching is a finesse move. You know, you want those muscles to relax and extend, and you're not going to do that if you do it if you try to stretch too much too fast. Okay, so after we finish, that's our quick little child's pose. The next stretch is a quad stretch, and I can show you a sitting version of that. Just turn sideways here as I get my camera adjusted right. So turn sideways. You can reach down and grab either the heel of your shoe or your ankle, and the other hand here can be on the chair, and you just lift this heel up. Let me slide back here so you can get a better idea of what I'm doing. So you just lift this heel, and again, you can grab the heel or your pant leg if you're wearing warm-ups, and you just bring it up. And the idea here is tuck your tailbone or keep your hips neutral or perpendicular to the seat of the chair, and you just let that knee fall to the floor, and control how high you lift will control just the amount of stretch that you have here. You know, you can have the knee forward for less stretch or pull it down more vertical in line with my torso to get more stretch. So find that spot where it's a nice mild stretch. And for all of our stretching and cool down, I like to inhale through the nose to a count of 4 and exhale to a count of 6 to 8. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Do the other side. And again, when we do the inhale, I like to encourage you to use your diaphragm to expand the lower abdominal area so that you take in as much air as you can, not only by expanding the chest, but really fully expanding the bottom half of your lungs by, you know, expanding the abdominal area. Okay, so after that quad stretch, you know, now we're going to do our hamstring and calf stretch. And so for that, again, we can be sitting forward on the chair, feet are parallel, hip distance apart. Extend one leg, heel down, and all right, turn sideways. Maybe see that a little bit better. So heel down, leg is straight, knee is slightly bent. You know, if you have a tendency to hyperextend, you don't want to do that. So bring your toes back towards the knee or towards the shin to stretch the calf, and to stretch the hamstrings, sit up nice and tall and hinge forward with as flat a back as you can. And at some point, if you can keep that back fairly flat and you hinge from the hips, you'll actually get a nice little stretch here in the hamstrings. And it, you know, and by virtue of the fact that you're hinging forward from the hips, you know, it's pretty difficult to get into too much of a stretch this way. So this is a good way to start out stretching the hamstrings. There's other ways to stretch them, but there's always the chance that you're going to overdo it. And this is a nice, good starter stretch. Okay, let's go ahead and switch legs. Again, pulling the toes back first, hinging forward to stretch these hamstrings back here. And again, I like to hold a stretch for 20 to 30 seconds. You know, we're kind of cutting it a little bit short here today for the purpose of this recording for everybody. But, and again, if you have the time, a stretch, if you can take the time to stretch back and forth from leg to leg or arm, whatever you're stretching, the second and third time, you're always going to get more length out of those muscle fibers. So there's nothing wrong with stretching a second and a third time, other than the fact that you've got to give yourself permission to do it. Most people, don't have the patience initially to do that, but I encourage you to make that a goal. Okay, we'll work on the glute stretch next. So again, feet are parallel, hip distance apart. Raise that right ankle and place it above the left knee. Again, sitting up nice and tall. And we're just going to hinge forward with a flat or straight back as much as you can keep it that way. And you'd be surprised the stretch that you'll get back here on the right rear glute area. And again, we're just work on just holding that stretch, breathing into it. Those nice slow 4-count inhales through the nose, 6 to 8 count exhales through either the nose, the mouth, or both. Okay, and after we're done with that stretch, go ahead and release. Bring the knee up. Bring the foot back closer to the hip, which will swing the knee around in front. Place both your hands on the opposite side. And now we want to gently bring this knee diagonally across to the opposite shoulder. And as we cross the midline or come close to crossing it, you're going to feel a really good stretch right down in here. And those are our hip rotators. And they're very instrumental in maintaining our stability when we're walking, going up and down stairs, or running, or anything like that. We use those muscles extensively. They're some of the strongest muscles in your body. The gluteus maximus is one of the strongest ones. But by the same token, some of the smaller stabilizer muscles can become weak if they're not exercised correctly, and can lead to problems later on. Okay, let's switch. Let's start with the glute stretch on the other side. And again, depending upon how much time you have, I always want to encourage people to do the cool down and the stretching. It's kind of a bonus. I figure that you've put in the hard work of doing all the exercises and drills, why not take the time to help those muscles to relax and regain their pre-workout length. Okay, release, lifting the knee, bringing it back. Okay, good, excellent. All right. Now the only other one that we haven't done, and I don't want to leave this one out, is the hip flexor stretch, and that one's so important because we spend so much time sitting. These muscles here can get short and weak. So the hip flexor stretch is probably best done standing. So let me reposition the camera, and of course I've got the chair here. I'm standing on the side of the chair. One hand is resting on the back. I'm going to place the foot of the leg that's closest to the back of the chair on the chair. The standing leg is the feet are parallel and hip distance apart. And now I'm basically keeping my hips neutral and my upper body perpendicular to the seat of the chair. I'm just going to gently lunge forward, tucking my tailbone to maintain those neutral hips. And depending upon how far I lunge forward, how far back this leg is, and how straight it is, will determine the stretch we get in these hip flexors. So kind of work with that to get a nice mild stretch, keeping the heel flat on the chair as you lunge forward provides a nice additional stretch for the soleus muscle in your calf. So we'll just finish with this stretch here today. And so after, again, 20 to 30 seconds or 2 or 3 of those breath cycles, depending on how fast you count, and then we'll switch sides and do the other one. And again, feet are parallel, hip distance apart, kind of hopping back a little bit to get an appropriate distance here. And then with this hand resting on the back of the chair, I'm lunging forward, tucking my tailbone, keeping the hips neutral or vertical, perpendicular to the seat of the chair to get into these hip flexors on this side. Okay, go ahead and release. Excellent. Okay, very nice. Come back to a sitting position in our chair. And again, we can sit up nice and tall, let our arms drop to our sides, our feet are flat on the floor, hip distance apart. On the next inhale, let's slowly lift those arms and shoulders up to a count of 4. And then turning the palms to the outside, slowly lower on a 6 to 8 second exhale. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. And once more to finish. I want to thank everybody for coming out today, watching this video. It's been my pleasure to lead you in class. If you have any questions, please get back to Michelle, and I'll be happy to either email back or engage in a one-on-one Zoom session at some other time to answer any questions you might have. So with that thought in mind, let's go ahead and end the recording. Michelle, if you want to come back and